All right, traders, I'm going to be doing a price action analysis for the top stocks that I'm going to be watching into the week. This is going to give you a much better understanding on when to be bullish, when to buy the call options, when to be bearish, when to buy the put options. The stocks we're going to be reviewing within this video are going to be TSM, BBBY, Nvax, ATER stock, MRIN, AFRM, ASTR, Roblox, Netflix, SBUX, NIO, and CZOO. So those are going to be the top stocks that I'm watching into this week, along with the previous video, which was BBBY, and of course the SPY. So let's get right into the price action analysis. If you appreciate these videos, make sure you smash that like button. And if you'd like me to potentially review your stock, feel free to post it in the comments below. So let's get right into the price action analysis. So we're going to be starting off with one of the top stocks that I'm going to be watching into this week. It's going to be on ticker symbol TSM. So with that being said, for this one, I'm interested in a put option opportunity. I'm interested in, once I get a confirmation at a key level, looking to buy puts in terms of the value that I see in this particular play. You know, your previous all-time highs were right here at $142.20. Huge downside potential for the short term, being within 1 week, it went all the way down to 125, and you better believe those puts printed. So we're seeing a similar sort of setup in terms of confirmations. This is what it is that I'm going to be looking for. So it hit a new all-time high, had a massive gap up, had a bit of an overreaction here, gapped up from 132 all the way to a high of 145, ended up closing weak at the low of day. And then in terms of Friday, it spiked back, but it's forming lower highs on its daily chart. So in terms of key levels and key breakdowns, this is what I'm going to be looking for. I'm looking at the previous all-time high right here. This is going to be a key level, 142.50. So that's going to be potential resistance I'm interested in looking into. I will say though, if this gaps down, I'm going to be looking to buy puts when it spikes back up towards the previous closing price, which is 140.66. Now, if it gaps up, I'm going to be looking to buy puts towards resistance at 142.50. Only if it looks extremely bearish though, and I'll be using a very, very tight stop loss at 144 if I do enter that trade. In my opinion, I think the best thing we could do with this one is to wait for the key breakdown, because the market can potentially continue to go a little bit higher for the short term before coming back down, and then SPY fills the gap at 455 within time. So with that being said, I think the best way to play this is to really just wait for 140.66 to crack and turn into a resistance level. And if that occurs, we should see a pullback within 1 to 2 days to $136 to $137. So that's going to be the play for TSM. In terms of BBBY, Bed Bath and Beyond, we are approaching some key major resistance. The best possible price in terms of to go with put options, very interested in this one. I have a very, very small put option position that I'm currently down on this one. Took a starting position on Friday, looking to add if we get confirmation. If not, I'm going to get stopped out. But with that being said, the previous closing price is at 1604. You can see there was a gap to fill right here. This stock crashed very, very quickly from the 16s all the way to the low 13s. Then it gapped up. As soon as it gapped up, it filled this gap right here, had a gap close reversal, came right back down just 2 days later to fill the gap, waiting to fill below. So what we're potentially seeing on BBBY, which is one of my top plays into this week, is a potential gap fill play. So if you see these two key levels react as a resistance level, you're going to want to swing trade some put options. So with that being said, the first key level, which is your second best level, is going to be right here at $15.60. And then your second best level is going to be $16.04, which is where that gap had previously filled. If BBBY can react at resistance in between that zone into this week, then we're really going to start to see a pullback. Once this can crack 1463 and turn into resistance level, it's going to be heading down to the 1370s. Once 1370s cracks, it's going to fill the gap. There's a gap to fill below at 1312, which would be the potential buying zone for a short-term trade, right? So with that being said, I'm looking for key resistance reactions from 1550 to 1604. If we get it, I'm going to be interested in adding to my put options and then riding this back down within like 3 to 4 days. This can fill this gap at $13.12 as long as we can get that resistance zone to form in between 1550 to 1604, and as long as we can crack this 1463 and turn that into resistance, it's going to be good to go to fill the gap below. So in terms of the pattern, we're looking for that history to repeat itself, right? So that is the pattern. That's the play for BBBY. Now the next stock is going to be NVAX. For those of you who follow this channel, you were well aware I told you I was studying 2 key levels for NVAX stock in terms of day and swing trades. And I told you guys, there's a gap to fill at 135. We never got the bullish reaction at 135 in terms of a swing trade bullish daily candle. We never got those green candles coming in. So I never bought it for the swing trade. Now, with that being said, in terms of day trade opportunities, I told you guys, if 135 reacts as resistance, if it breaks down, the next best level and the one you're going to want to go with is this level right here. There was a gap to fill at 102 and the strategy worked phenomenal on Friday. Had a couple members day trade this one. There was a gap to fill right here at 102.60. As soon as NVAX came back down to this key level with huge upside potential, it literally bottomed out twice, I believe, the same day. So yeah, right here towards market open, it shot up as soon as it went above the key level, all the way to fill this gap at 112.50. As soon as NVAX stock went back to the previous closing price and closed the gap, it had a gap close reversal. And then it came back down to the key level, turned it into support, and shot right back up. So NVAX is at a make it or break it level right now. What I want you to understand is if 112 breaks out and turns into support, this 112.50, this is going to be on track to run to about, let's check the chart here real quick for the short term being. We're going to be on track to run into the 120s to 125 zone. And there's also a gap to fill at 130. So a key breakout play is setting up if 112.50 breaks out and turns into support. If you see the bullish confirmations at that level, you can attempt to buy it. Use a stop loss, set the stop towards like 108. You don't want to hold past like 108 if it cracks that. Now, in terms of dip buying opportunities, I'm very interested to see how this can react towards 102 again. But what I want you to understand is for the bulls to show true strength into Tuesday and for them to really take control, they need to break above 112 and turn it into a support level. This is what I want you to understand. NVAX cracked this key support, and this key support right here is at 112.66. And notice how once it cracked, it had a major pullback, and then it bounced off the 102 key gap fill reversal level that I gave you. So it's pushing back up, and it's attempting to turn previous support, which had nice downside potential, into resistance. It's attempting to form a new lower high. So for the bulls to take control, they need to break above and turn 112 into support. Otherwise, it's going to go right back down to 102. So that's what I want you to understand. If they can't break above this 112 level and it reacts as resistance level, it's having a gap close reversal at this 112, and it's simply turning previous support into a resistance level. Therefore, it would still be bearish for the swing trade. So we'll see how this reacts heading into Tuesday. This is going to be a very interesting setup, a very interesting reaction, because if this can really turn 112 and break out into support, this is going to be on track to explode into the 120 to 130 range. You have a gap to fill right here at 130, so we'll see on that. In terms of ATER stock, I'm actually gaining some interest in ATER stock. I just noticed there was a gap to fill, and you guys know whenever ATER stock has a gap, when it fills a gap that's waiting to fill below, it always likes to have a short-term reversal, just like Prog stock and like BBIG stock. So this one, there's a gap to fill right here at 322. So once this stock drops to 322, I'm going to be interested in playing this for a swing trade, set a stop loss at like 280, 290, and then look to ride this one back up a little bit. I'll look for like a quick 10 to 20, 30% profit return on that. So this is something I'm keeping an eye on. I think it's due for a bounce, and in terms of entry and when to buy, the ideal entry on this would be $3.22. So when the time's right, I'll probably make a video on that. In terms of our next stock, MRIN, it's the exact same setup. This one loves having gap close reversals, and this has finally filled the gap. So in terms of MRIN stock, it filled the gap on Friday. The gap fill level was at 345. Mentioned this in several videos throughout the past week. And you can see as soon as we filled that gap, let me draw the key level right here just to show you guys. This one loves having gap close reversals. It loves having little short-term spikes once it fills the gaps. So the key gap fill level was at 345. It's currently sitting at 360. As you can see, the low of day, it literally bounces right off the key level that I gave you, has a reversal, shoots up to 365. So for this one, once we can turn 357 and break above that into support, I'm going to be interested in buying this. This has some nice upside potential to get back to around, to really push back up to $4.25. Once we can break above 425, it's going to have a gap breakout, fill this gap at 453. Once it goes to 453, you see it react as a resistance level. That's when you look to be bearish and get the put options. So I'm looking for this one. This one has potential to, again, have that gap close reversal, explode back up to fill this gap at 453. Very bullish on MRIN stock, has a strong history of doing so. In terms of AFRM is extremely bearish for the time being. So AFRM had this key gap fill support level right here at 67.90. In terms of AFRM stock, it has still not filled this gap. So what I want you to understand is when AFRM fills these gaps, it likes to have quick short-term reversals. So we are setting up for a very, very nice potential day trade and swing trade. I'm going to show you an example. There was a gap to fill right here, a key support on AFRM at $92.06. This is the day it filled the gap. The exact bottom was at 92.06 and it shot up to 113. And a couple days later, it ran back to 108. So I think we're going to see the same thing happen. I think we're due for a bounce. We're due for a nice reversal here. So for this one, pay attention to the call options when you see it hit 60, 70, 90. When it hits $67.90, you see a bounce off that. You see some bullish confirmations come in. Look to buy the call options in terms of how high do I think it can go. I think it's going to be able to get to, in terms of the short term, back to 75, back towards this previous support that is now turning to resistance. So for AFRM, that's what you want to look for. Just be careful because this is a very bearish candlestick and use bullish confirmations. But once you see that 67.90 level turn into support, you're going to want to buy into AFRM stock. If it cracks 67.90, the next key level you're going to want to look to buy is at 64.76. There's a gap to fill at 64.76 as well. So those are the two key levels where we should see some sort of reversal on AFRM stock. So keep those two key levels in mind. That should be a good one. Our next stock is going to be ASTR, ASTR stock right here. So they're expected to relaunch their rocket. Last time they launched their rocket, it was a complete dud. In anticipation of the launch, the stock exploded. And then as soon as the launch was a dud, it had a hard sell-off. So with that being said, this is going to be one of those plays where you buy the rumors, sell the news. They're expected to launch on Tuesday. Some articles were saying 1 p.m. It could be later. This is a play where you buy before the news. And then if you want to take the extra risk, because if the launch does well, unlike last time, then it's going to explode and the stock is extremely oversold, right? So if you want to take the extra risk and hold through the news, make sure you only hold 30% or 40% of your position, right? Always lock in profits before the news. Understand you're flipping a coin, right? So that's something you should understand on this particular play. But with that being said, it's extremely oversold. It's due for some sort of upside potential. And the stock has somewhat of a decent history of going back up to fill the gaps. It has multiple occurrences of where it can spike big and have gap ups really big. And it's just due for some sort of rip. And there's multiple gaps to fill above. So with that being said, this is definitely, in my opinion, going to be a play where you want to buy before that news, and then it just depends on your risk tolerance. If you want to, sell before the news or sell after the news, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen. I would definitely recommend, locking in profits though before the news. And then if you want to take the extra risk, just leave like 1/3 of your position to ride. So with that being said, you could see, in anticipation of this news, it is gapping up in after hours and it's running from 455 all the way to 587. So this one is simply just going to be a buy. The best price to get in is the previous closing price, the gap fill level at 548. If not, If $6 can break out and turn into support, it's going to be a buy. So that's my thoughts. That's my analysis on it. Buy before the news and then sell right before. That's the thoughts. That's the analysis for ASTR stock. Going to be keeping a close eye on this one as well. And if they do have some sort of failure, when they launch, I'm going to be buying put options for sure. So yeah, I explained to you the potential long side and the potential side for puts as well. So in terms of Roblox is due for some sort of spike. Very, very oversold at these levels for the short term, being not for the long term, in my opinion. But with that being said, there's a gap to fill at 77. So once you see this hit 77, you see the bullish confirmations, look to buy the dip. And again, guys, don't just buy and hold these. These are short-term trades where the call options can explode. That's what we're doing. Rinse and repeat. We're not just buying and holding these out. We're not investing into these stocks. In terms of investing, the time to invest was 2020. This is going to be the year 2022 to become a trader, right? You're supposed to invest when the whole world is melting, when stocks are down substantially, not when they're 10x plus, like many stocks have 10x plus, like Tesla and all the other stocks. You saw them from 2020 bottom, hitting past 5-year lows, just blowing through that, to then pushing for new all-time highs, going up 10x, right? Now's not the time to be investing. Now's the time to be trading. And in terms of exponential returns, I prefer the options. So with that being said, there's a trading opportunity setting up at $77. Once this hits 77, that's where I'm going to be looking to potentially buy some call options if we see the bullish confirmation for a short-term trade. And Netflix, same exact thing, and this should be a good one. So in terms of Netflix, there's a gap to fill at 510.72, strong support. If we can get back down to 510.72, going to be looking to buy call options, ride this back up towards 535 plus. In terms of Starbucks is approaching 52-week lows. There's some gaps to fill. There's a gap to fill right here at 96.81. There's another gap to fill right here at 98.58. Looking to do the same exact thing on Starbucks in between those levels, like we discussed with the firm stock. In terms of NIO, man, this is very important for NIO, especially for investors. We're at a key critical level, guys. What you need to understand about NIO is this is a very key support level with huge previous upside potential, where it went from 30s all the way to 55. With that being said, if this key level and this key level right here crack and react as a resistance level, NIO is extremely, extremely bearish. So what I want you to understand is if this cracks through $30 a share, that is a very, very hard sell bearish signal. Now, if we can maintain above this key $30 level, it's going to be on track to break above 32. If it can break above 32, turn that into support, then we're going to start to see some sort of shift and reversal where this can push back up to fill this gap at $36 a share. So that's what I want you to pay attention in terms of NIO. If it can hold 30, it's going to be on track for a bullish reversal. If it cracks 30, turns into resistance, very, very bearish signal. But yeah, in terms of the daily chart, it's going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out. Obviously, it's due for some sort of spike for the short term being. CZOO, a lot of people are talking about this one. The chart is fairly horrific, but there's a lot of hype around this one. With that being said, I'm going to look to see how this reacts once this fills the gap. There's a gap to fill at 449. If it looks bullish, I'm going to be looking to buy this, ride it back up towards the $4.80 to $5 range. So we'll see how that reacts. But yeah, that is going to be the top stocks that I'm going to be watching into this week. If you want to trade live with me at Market Open, it is the first link down below in the description. I go live every single day at Market Open. You can ask me questions live on the spot. I'll give you stock analysis. I'll review your stocks as well in your current positions, help you out along the way. You also get direct message access where you can message me on a one-on-one direct message access. That's something where there's nowhere else you can do that in terms of having access to me. There's nowhere else where you can message me on a one-on-one basis and get like real-time responses live on spot and webinars as well. You also get access to the video lesson library, the chat room, the real-time trade alerts, the education. So there's a lot to it. If you're interested in checking out Trader Society, it's the first link down below in the description. I would love to work with you if you feel like you're the right fit for the program. So with that being said, I will see you guys live tomorrow at Market Open. It is going to be a great week. We have a lot of great stocks on the radar, and I'll see you guys in the morning.